Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Roma Press live stream. This is Andy from Roma Press. I'm the co-host and co-editor of RomaPress.net and the Roma Press podcast. Thank you all for joining me. Hello, Christopher Keller says Rui out. Okay, that's a good start to this live stream. I'm just gonna wait until more of us come in. I already see that some people have commented before the stream started. Hi, Mark. What's up? Um, People already giving their opinions and thoughts on last night's performance. Yes, Kevin from the Roma Press patron group chat is laughing at the thumbnail, which says disgraceful. I just want to say, for starters, buongiorno. Hi, Joey. I'm good. How are you? For starters, I just wanted to say the thumbnail will not reflect what, in inaccuracy, my attitude on camera. I'm not going to, slam my fist. I'm not going to pound my head against the wall. This is not the kind of live stream that maybe YouTube may be accustomed to. I want to keep a clear head, and I'm just here also to mostly focus on what you guys have to say about last night. You'll hear my extensive thoughts on the next episode with John. Yes, Twitter has been crazy. What a shit show. Thanks for the chat. Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for being here. Um, the doom and gloom this early is wild. Well, it's typical though, no? I mean, it's not that big of a surprise. So I'm just waiting for everybody to chip in. Rodrigo, positive vibes. It's not Roma if it's not positive vibes. Joey says at least Lukaku seems nearly done, so that's good news. That's, yeah, I mean, we can look forward to that. It's I never like to bring the transfer market angle onto what happens on the pitch, because it's two separate stories. And also, as a Roma fan, that you can't take anything for granted. So all these rumors about Lukaku being very close, which is true. I mean, that's the news. Take it always with a grain of salt. We saw how some of the previous deals fell through. So fingers crossed on that. Yeah, that's a good talking point. Zidane, should Jose change to back four? So we'll get into that. In a bit. I'm just waiting for more people to come in. Hey, Andy, thanks for the live stream. Some positive vibes from you, at least. I'm trying. I a lot of people may not know this, but when we first started with John, I was the negative person. I mean, I would go on rants. John would have these episodes where he would just let me rip, but it wasn't good. It never is. Ranting can be fun for like 2 minutes, or maybe if you're a patron. And I encourage everybody to to become patrons, because that really helps us. If you go to patron.com/Roma Press, that really helps us going. If you're a patron and you send messages on the patron group chat, which is one of the exclusive, let's say, privileges for patrons, then you can rant all you want, and it's you can exchange with other people who love to rant. But at some point it becomes tiresome, no? So I remember there was a time when I think it was in Fonseca's first year, where I even went on a really like a 30-minute rant following some horrible game, I think with Cagliari. And that didn't really go down well with me or anybody else listening to the show. That's not good. So thank you, Alec, for the hair compliment. Thank you very much. uh, yeah, new chemistry may take a bit to get to gel as a team. And yes, sure, like this is, I mean, I think it's pretty evident that Roma have lost something. It's and as I want to get into this game from yesterday, I think it has become more apparent to anybody that has watched this team in these first 180 minutes that they've lost a step. And it's not even fitness, it's not even based on desire, because I think the desire is there. I said it on the first game, I thought the desire was there. And I maintain that the desire was there yesterday. The problem is the execution, and once again, I also think that there was a game plan, and I like the glimpses of the game plan that Roma are trying out. But there is also a problem in how you go about realizing that, and how you go about letting the opponent, a lesser opponent in this case, both for Salernitana and Verona, get at you. Roma are not a team that can. Yes, I see. Cesar says it's almost the same team. Yes and no. You know what I mean? Like, Roger Ibanez is gone. Nemanja Matic is gone. Tammy Abraham is injured. All right there, you have three players that have been key to us. Whether you like it or not, whether you were satisfied with how Tammy Abraham performed last season, or whether you liked Roger Ibanez as a defender, or whether you appreciated Nemanja Matic or not. It is, to me, it's pretty clear that all those three guys, the main guys that are not there right for us now, were a key aspect of this team. And I think it applies to the dressing room, and it applies to what happens on the pitch. There are new dynamics involved. I mean, replacing Roger Ibanez with Diego Llorente, it's not something that happens overnight. As silly as it may seem, given that we're not talking about Maldini or Beckenbauer, we're talking about Ibanez. But clearly, in Roma's case, that makes a difference. Same thing with Nemanja Matic, who leaves 2 weeks prior to the start of the season. It's that doesn't help. You bring in Leandro Paredes, who hasn't had the easiest of seasons with Juventus, hasn't had the easiest of runs with PSG, and you immediately ask him to play in front of the defense. Takes time. It takes time. We all know that. We've seen other players struggle before him. And if you put somebody right there at the Bentegodi and say, "Hey, you play in front of the defense," you're gonna have problems. Without Tammy, as ineffective as he was last season, he really tried to compensate for whatever his teammates and the wingbacks and whatever were not giving him. And he was, I think, pivotal in trying to maneuver the team as Mourinho asked of him. Sometimes, again, more effective, sometimes less effective. So that's not. Yeah, that's. I think those are three absences that should not be underestimated. That's why I say, more or less, it's the same team. Yes, we have the core players: Cristante, Pellegrini, Smalling, Dybala. They're there, but we understand that in some aspects, this team has undergone major changes over the summer, and and I think that's why everybody else then expects also to touch upon this Rui situation. So I just want to see what the comments are here. The defenders are giving the opponent too much space in the opening two games. What is wrong with the defense? It's. I think it's really the case of a team trying to figure things out one more time. Because, mind you, the Roma, even prior to the Europa League final, didn't have the easiest of runs. The results were not always excellent. There was a team, I think, running on fumes. And then whatever happens in the summer is always puts the team in a difficult position, because you lose fitness, you lose athleticism, you're not the same team from last season. It's you have to start over again. So definitely there is something there. The defense, we'll see how it works with Evan Dika. At some point he has to come in. um, but it's pretty clear that we lost something, right? We lost a step or two. And as Gianluca Mancini said yesterday, that doesn't mean that it's all because of Roger Ibanez not being there. That is not an excuse, and that's not how it works. But it's part of it, I think. Andy, does a formation change help this defense, or are we simply? We're trying to keep it civilized, so I'm not gonna. I'm gonna try to limit the swear words on this live stream. Okay. Can Lukaku bring us what we need in attack? How can we possibly survive with Patricio like this? Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, the formation change, right? I think we can all agree that the 3-5-2, it's supposed to benefit, our center backs, but we're doing it with wing backs that leave much, you know, leave much to desire. I mean, it's pretty evident by now that players like Zaleski, like Karsdorp, like Christensen, Spinazzola should be doing much more with the lineup that we're playing with the game plan, with the whole focus that is placed on them, with how many balls go into their feet. Like it's once upon a time we had Alexander Kolarov basically playing as our regista, and once he became ineffective, we had to drop that as an option. And instead, here we got like 4 to 5 guys who switch in these same positions, and most of the time, their work rate is limited, and their offensive output is scarce, to say the least, because we don't have too many accurate crosses, too many assists. And for a team that plays the 3-5-2, I mean, that's a necessity, right? So, hi, Andy, keep up the good work. Thanks, Mazine. Do you think Mu will have the guts to bench Lorenzo Pellegrini if he doesn't raise his level? Okay, yeah, it was inevitable. It was inevitable that we will touch upon this. I'm pretty sure that's not the first comment that mentioned Lorenzo Pellegrini. I also hope that we will see how this goes forward with Lorenzo Pellegrini. Yesterday, first game of the season. So, but I understand where this frustration comes from, right? Pellegrini, with the captain's armband, even without the captain's armband, he has grown into, not even I don't even want to say leader, but he has grown to this figure, to this kind of player that is supposed to be one of the better performers in the team, right? It's almost expected of him to contribute, you know just as much as Dybala, to an extent. He has been here a long time. He has grown in his technical skills. He also has grown with regards to his influence in the dressing room. He's well respected in the team. I really don't think that from that point of view, benching him is an option for Mourinho, because Pellegrini has always offered that undisputed leadership that has been there with Fonseca, before that Ranieri. So he's been there, and I don't, but I do agree that there are times where you could make a case, and even the kind of Awar that we've seen in these last 2 games. I think Awar, we can all agree, was one of the better players, and definitely one of the major surprises, right? A lot of people thought, oh, here comes the guy that nobody wanted, and that guy that was benched for a whole season at Lyon, and all of a sudden, he proves vital to the team. He gives space. He's a threat. He can intercept the ball, and I think he's giving a lot of positive responses. I like what we're seeing from him, and so you can make a case that at some point in time there has to be that option, that thought of eventually perhaps benching Pellegrini for a game for Arwar. Pellegrini, again, it's his status is too significant with Mourinho, especially. This is a guy who is there, who belongs in that lineup. I don't make the rules. I understand there can be frustration with some of his performances. And overall, I think most of the time it's not even that he's playing bad. He makes mistakes, yes, but I think the discrepancy is comes from the expectations, right? And the expectations with him are the expectations of somebody who should be on the same level as a top player like Dybala. And that's it. Coffee and Andy's calm tones is a good morning. Thank you. That's that's the whole point of this. I don't like when people come on right after a game or something and they basically record themselves, hitting the wall or hitting their wife or something. I mean, that's not cool. It's or throwing their phone and trying to make it seem like they want to go viral or something. Uh, that's I don't believe in that. I much rather read your comments, and try to come up with your input so that then tomorrow or later today when I record with John for the podcast, I can incorporate some of your thoughts. Um, is it true that Dan Friedkin is paying you guys to sugarcoat? Thanks. Yeah, this is a joke from the patrons because somebody said that John and I like to sugarcoat everything that happens. And I think what we're trying to do is basically, keep a balance and try to exactly maintain some, some thought, some rationale in the midst of all this madness. In the midst of all this madness that Roma always delivers, because it's very easy to get caught up in depression and the craziness and the transfer market, especially when it's not done yet. So. Um, I thought Belotti played great yesterday for what he was given. I think exactly. I think Belotti, Aouar are clearly the two best players right now for Roma in these two games that should have given. I mean, Roma should have. I wanna. That's how I want to approach this. Is the thumbnail says disgraceful. I think the disgrace of last night doesn't even come in the result. I don't think that the result, because I've seen Roma play much worse at the Bentegodi in the past. Honestly, I can even name. I think it was that game in Mourinho's first year where Lorenzo Pellegrini scores the back heel, and I think Verona came back like twice against us in that game. I think the final score was like 2-2 or I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything. Maybe even Verona won that game. But to me that was a much worse team effort, okay? The instance here that makes me go, "Oh, disgraceful, inexcusable," is the fact that you go down 2-0 and in a conceding the only chances that you are actually giving the opponent. And mind you, this is once again, it's a good opponent, but it's not a great opponent. So what's inexcusable is for a team like Roma to go down 2-0 in the first place, and also in such a stupid fashion, in a fashion that's so avoidable. That's where the disgrace comes from, because a team like Roma cannot afford to be in those situations. Roma cannot afford to be in those situations. Roma have to put the foot on the gas and right from the get go, and create and score. And whatever they concede, because we know the difficulty they have in converting those chances. So it's the same old. That Roma, find themselves in a hole that they dug themselves for, and that's to me, that's where the disgrace comes from. Is that after a few minutes, Verona score on a stupid long range goal shot that was totally avoidable. Um, so that's Christensen again was awful. However, I don't know. I wouldn't call exactly. Yeah, thank you, Joey, saying, "Oh, yeah, you lost to Verona in 2021." Yeah, exactly. Thank you, dear. Exactly. That to me that's much worse. But this is not good. I'm not here to say that this was good. Christensen was awful. I mean, I mediocre more of it. Like again, it's not even that there were some awful, truly awful performances. Well, perhaps with the exception of Rui Patricio, who was caught sleeping yet again. Um, I think the wingbacks, overall, the wingbacks are your biggest drawback. Like, the wingbacks are always providing you with very little, and actually they contribute very little both in the attack and in the defense. And a team that relies on 3-5-2 cannot do it. A team that plays with 3-5-2, the wingbacks must be marching. They have to be like the Germans in 1939 walking into Poland. That has to be the attitude. Boom, like that has to be straight like an arrow. And instead, we're always, whether it's Christensen or whether it's Spinazzola who dances around his opponent, or somebody else shooting the cross into the opponent's back. It's uh it's I think that's the weakest link. um any update on Marcus Leonardo? No, I'm sorry. That's there's none that I know of. Sorry. But for all I know is Roma are trying to do something in January. That's really the latest update on that. Actually thought Spina wasn't bad, says Alec. Spinazzola tried to get the team in position for a good cross, but no one was there to finish. And yes, and I think that also sort of plug taps into that aspect of the team still trying to figure things out. I think that for a while they're trying to figure out what Mourinho is asking of them, and Mourinho, I think, is asking of them different things compared to last season, especially in Tammy Abraham's absence, and I think more so without Nemanja Matic on the pitch. If you put somebody like Leandro Paredes, you immediately have to change things, and I think the players themselves address this, that they are working on something. That something right now is not working to its full potential. This team has to score more, has to be more angry up front and more solid in the back. I mean, you take away the defensive solidity from this team, the defensive solidity that we saw last season. Where does this team end up without it? Probably nowhere. Probably out of Europe, probably not to the Europa League final. That defensive solidity is crucial for any team, and especially a Jose Mourinho team. Any team that wants to aspire to something, that defensive solidity is absolutely crucial. Isn't Dika not ready? I mean, I assume if we're not seeing him right now from the get-go, the message I think that Mourinho put out is that he still needs to learn to play with his teammates, right? Although I really doubt that you could do any worse at the back, um, in terms of the defenders just getting caught ball watching. Somebody like Chris Smalling, I mean, out of all the people, Chris Smalling getting caught ball watching, that he's always so sharp, and he always stays on his opponent. That it's remarkable that in these first two games he's been so ineffective, almost invisible. He hasn't been him. Is John joining one of the live streams, or is it Andy one man show only? Listen, I will speak to John about it shortly. The thing is that John is a family man. I'm not. So there's much more going on in his life than mine. So for me, it's easier to get on here and do this with consistency, which is what I'm gonna try and do. Um, Disappointed a little with Solbakken yesterday. I expected more from him. True, and at the same time, it's a shame that that you have to, in these situations, you have to rely on somebody that you are not willing to bet on in the long run. You know what I mean? Like yesterday, you take off Paulo Dybala at the 70th minute or something, and you put Ola Solbakken on, and you basically tell him, okay, try and figure this out. But how is this guy supposed to, have any kind of consistency in his performances and show anything if you never really give him the chance to contribute? I mean, this guy wasn't even present in most of the preseason games. So that's really the shame of this situation, is that I don't know if we know who Ola Solbakken really is. We saw some good things when he came in, but it's a long way off from expecting this guy to be, I don't know, a goal scoring machine. Where, what was his contribution? His contribution has been one goal, and I think that was against Hellas Verona last season at the Olimpico. But aside from that, this is a guy that you never really took and put on the pitch and said, "Okay, we're counting on you. Be be great." That's not so. I don't expect him to be our lifesaver in a situation like this. What's Solbacken's best position? I think I see that everybody's interested in Solbakken. That's a good question, Shaul. I don't. I honestly don't know, and I don't know if anybody here knows what Solbacken's ideal position in this team is, because at Bodo Glimt that's a whole different story. But in this team, and I think much less Jose Mourinho doesn't know. It's pretty evident the way the way this player has been treated, and I'm not even saying in a negative fashion. I'm just saying, I just don't think that he fits. And I really hope that something comes up this season. There is a moment where Ola Solbakken goes on a crazy Cengiz Under run from 2017-18, latter part of 18. But I doubt it. So um, the writing has been on the wall for Rui Patricio from last year. Why is Pinto not getting us a quality goalkeeper? What drives me crazy, it's not even being discussed. I think it has been discussed. The consensus was we're gonna keep on going with Rui Patricio until the expiry of his contract, because uh, we need money for a good goalkeeper. You can't really get a goalkeeper, a quality keeper, for no money, which is what Roma are operating with. Roma will make, if they manage to sign Lukaku, they will definitely use that to make a run for a Champions League qualification, and that's the only way to guarantee some money for an investment like the goalkeeper, where it doesn't work like any other position. To get a good goalkeeper, you need money, you need cash up front. Nobody's going to give you somebody on loan. Carnesecchi from Atalanta is being valued right now at 50 million by Atalanta after that loan spell at Cremonese. They're not going to give you a guy like him with such a future for free, especially to a direct opponent. Falcone from Lecce, yes, that may be a name. We like him, but this is the reality is Serie A, where even for somebody like Falcone, there Lecce is Lecce who got 20 million for Hulman from Sporting. Lecce are also, they're not in a hurry. They are in Serie A once more. They avoided relegation. They have a good project going. They have a new coach. I don't think they're in a hurry. For a guy like Falcone, if he has a decent season once again in Serie A next year, you may be looking at what, 15, 20 million. For Roma, even a fee like that, 20 million, which is what Tottenham paid for Vicario, it's not an option. At least in this transfer, reality is not an option. So I'm pretty sure that the thinking was, Rui Patricio is very close to Mourinho. This is a guy that he wanted. It's a guy he trusts. We're gonna squeeze everything out of him, and then we're gonna let him go. At the end of his contract, he's gonna go somewhere as a free agent. And that's why I think with me as VR, also the thinking was we're gonna let him leave on loan. We're gonna maybe sign a backup. That didn't materialize, so I know this is a problem. It's not the first time. Rui Patricio was, I think, great in the first year. Last year he was good in some parts, but then had a major fall off. But benefited from the fact that the defense had figured things out, and the defense kept going. I think Rui Patricio conceded less goals than in his first season at Roma. I think the credit most of the time goes to the defense there. And it's a shame that we're in this situation. I know we would all like to go back to Alisson, but this is not the time, unfortunately. I think it's one more season of Rui Patricio, and who knows, maybe Miles VR can come in, maybe he can get his shot, maybe he can surprise us all. I am pretty sure that Miles VR at this point will get more playing time, at least in the Europa League. That's, to me, I think it's the bare minimum given what Rui Patricio is showing right now. So, Lukaku or not, I think we're not good enough for the Champions League. Something important is missing, and we lost 5 points against Salernitana and Verona. Bad start if you want Champions League, and now we play Milan. I definitely agree that Lukaku comes in is not a guarantee of getting Champions League football. Nothing is a guarantee in Serie A. The teams, I think, are all very closely lined up there at the top. There may be some that are more ahead in their development, ahead in their transfers, but overall, the level at the top is very similar, very close. So Lukaku is not a guarantee. I agree, but he raises expectations, and that's the reality of it. I agree that something is missing. I said it when we began this live stream, that it feels off. It feels off. Something feels off. It feels like maybe these guys haven't talked enough with each other. The good thing about, as you say, dropping 5 points in the opening 2 games of the season is that you basically bring every mistake, every mishandled situation, everything under a loop from the get-go. I remember Roma going on such wonderful runs at the start of the season, and that tricks you into thinking the wrong things. Like, even in Mourinho's first season at Roma, I think we went on like a 7-match win streak to begin the season, and that wasn't good. I don't know if that was ideal, because it tricked you into thinking that this team was something that they are not. And whereas when you make these mistakes, and Roma made some glaring mistakes in these 2 games, I think that are easily avoidable and easy to identify, and modify and change things. That's, to me, that's the good thing about this. So in all this doom and gloom, if we want to try and look for the positive, is look at those games, look at those mistakes. If we as fans can point to those things and say, well, there's your mistake, you can't do it. Smalling too late, Patricio slow, Leandro Paredes gets cut off. If we can do it, I'm sure that the staff can pick up on it. If you pick up on it early enough, you can tame it. You can contain the spread of these mistakes. You can contain the situation. At least that's the hope. Do you think these players really miss Jose leaderships from the touchline? The fact that Jose will be missing 4 Europa League games, should we ignore the Europa League and focus on top 4? I definitely, Jose not being on the touchline will have some effect. I mean, you like it or not, to not have your coach on the touchline will always take away something, because I mean, he taps into a lot of things that even a guy like Salvatore Foti, whom we like, or legend Bruno Conti, these guys are just there to sort of keep Mourinho's instructions on the pitch. That's it. They don't bring in anything from themselves. It's Mourinho stands for everything basically as a coach. So definitely, but to go from that and to say we should drop out of Europa League because he's not going to be there in 4 games, no. Especially, we'll see which opponents we have, where do we play, when, and then what the situation is with our personnel and the lineups that we choose. But that's a long call, so no, let's not let's not go there right now. um with Rui in the net, top four, especially Moose system, would have been amazing to have gotten Vicario. Rui was cooked last season. It was evident to see. Yeah, I mean, it's we can agree, we can agree, it's fine, but it doesn't solve much. It's an issue, and it's gonna be there. I think it's just a matter of again of availability of opportunity. Roma were not in a position, I think, to prioritize that goalkeeper spot, as pressing as it may seem to us, and as pressing as it may seem to the club. There were other situations that needed to be addressed, and that could be addressed in light of Roma's financial restrictions. You were never going to get you were never going to match Tottenham's 20 million offer for Vicario. Never in this economy that Roma are operating. No way. I like how Roma tried to play more aggressive, says Joe Palmieri, and not play the low block. Lots of possession, some more link up play, but the defense has been terrible in the high line. Yes, and that's when I say that the team hasn't figured it out yet. There is a sort of a portion of this team that is trying to compensate for something that is not working in the back. So if they manage to basically get the defense straight and the midfield just as exciting as it is now, then maybe good things can come. Starting from the Milan match, that has to be the priority, is try to limit the mistakes, because it's not even that, the defense is all over the place. The defense is just making very amateurish mistakes. If you can cut those out and give the ball to the likes of Aouar and Dybala, I think we will be fine. Again, some perspective, 2 games in, it's okay. We have to understand that it's okay to make mistakes. Like, obviously, you don't want to drop points against lesser opponents, but if you're gonna drop points, it's always preferable to do it at the beginning and figure it out quickly, so that then you can shoot straight. Because I remember this team going on that incredible streak with Rudy Garcia, and then we all know what happened, right? So I don't think Sviar can do worse than Rui, says Leo. What is it? 4 goals, 5 shots going back to back last year. I mean, yeah, it's not good. Let's just put it that way. It's not good. The XG, yeah. Yeah, we have this team. This team is producing. It's not like this team is stale. It's not like this team is sitting ducks, and it's not like this team is helpless with the ball. This team has an idea of what they want to do, but like last year, it's like basically a copy, but maybe a better copy in terms of game plan, in terms of overall ideas on the pitch. The problem is you have to put the ball into the back of the net. That's the bottom line. That's football. You need to put the ball into the back of the net. You can have 28 shots, you can produce more, you can be convincing, but if you don't score, you go nowhere. Roma seem to understand it, but they seem to have a very hard time of realizing it. Do you think, Steven, do you think that maybe our fan base is having an overreaction to these 2 results? Thank you, Steve. Steve is a patron and we love him. Yes. To me, it's always an overreaction, but I don't blame you. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have some kind of reaction. It's disappointing. You don't want to, the whole idea of starting with Salernitana in Hellas Verona, was to make the year accessible, was to start the season with 6 points preferably, and that was what we wanted. That was in the ideal world. The truth of the matter is these games are complicated, for a team like Roma that still is not 100% on the same wavelength, um, it's problematic. And I think the benefit exactly of these when we discussed with John this Serie A calendar, I didn't take these first two games for granted, and I actually said it's nice to have these lesser opponents because the, such games give you really a good understanding of where you are. If you say lose to Milan 2-1 like you did yesterday against Hellas Verona, perhaps you're not drawing the same conclusions as from this match that we witnessed last night. It does some of the mistakes maybe are not so apparent in those circumstances. So I think in the end, it really helps you give some urgency to the problems that you may face in the long run. So, um, okay, are you expecting a hammering from Milan next game? We'll discuss this on the podcast, but right now I really don't know. I think Milan are flying, but it doesn't mean anything because we saw if this team is unpredictable as the team from last season, then there is no prediction that could encapsulate whatever is going to happen on Friday against Milan. um, William says first half yesterday was good. Rui Patricio is the problem. I agree. I even think, like, for example, Leandro Paredes, who came off in the second half, he was good for that. Only that mistake on the goal. Getting slow. I think it taps into that problem of you're putting Paredes in a position. You're playing him in front of the defense, and he needs guys around him to be effective there. We saw it even in his 2016-2017 season when he would replace Daniele De Rossi in front of that defense. He's a player that can only make a difference in that position if he has guys around him, basically, you know commanding the pitch in terms of physicality, pace. He needs bodyguards around him to make a difference. Last night he didn't, and it was pretty evident. You put him in a position, at least in that moment, where he was uncomfortable, and yet he was still. I think he was pretty good up until that mistake. Cristante should have come off instead. I agree. Um, Roma was very predictable last season. Well, Cesar, I don't know. Could you have predicted that they would get to the Europa League final? I really don't think so. Um, Selig should start as a wingback or fullback. He's our best defensively. I need them to try and neutralize Leon Hernandez against Milan. Probably, yeah. I would say Selig and Karsdorp, to be honest, but I don't think that's likely to happen. I'm pretty sure that Mourinho will put Spinazzola again. Marcos Leonardo, January deal off the table with Big Rom coming in. Again, I would like to know the answer. We know that the rumors were that Roma were in agreement, like we're nearing an agreement for Marcus Leonardo. And it's been it's been almost 2 weeks since we have heard anything. I would assume that it really all depends on Ola Solbakken. And as I said in the previous live stream, I think Ola Solbakken's future is linked with the future of somebody like Marcos Leonardo arriving in January. Maybe Bove as Paredes' bodyguard. Yes, definitely. The something like that. Like he needs dynamic players around him, players that will do the chasing around, players that will, exactly play like cane malato, so sick dog, like Mourinho described Eduardo Bove, because Paredes is not that kind of player. In that position. That's what I'm saying. As a basically defensive midfielder, Paredes needs guys that play around him. That's it. Yeah, Bove played the first game. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's what happened. We keep playing Jose's favorites instead of our best players. El Sharawi, Karsdorp should start. With El Sharawi, I think the thinking always with El Sharawi is he is an option that you can use as the game goes on. Because if you think about it, Roma's options to be effective in the second half are limited. Who are you going to put in the second half? Who's the player that will give you an edge in the final minutes of the game? Who will give you an advantage, or give another dimension to your attack in the second half? I think that's why El Sharawi is time and time again basically treated as a bench player, just in terms of the energy that he can provide you with in those final 20-30 minutes when the opponent is supposedly getting tired and or maybe has already read you, and El Sharawi just gives more versatility to your game plan in the second half. um Hello, nomads. Hello, I just joined the chat. Glad you guys are doing live stream now. I want to get something off my chest. For the love of God, let's get anyone as our goalkeeper if we get our U21 goalkeeper. Yes, I mean I think the consensus in the chat is that Rui Patricio has become a problem. At least in these first two games, that's evident. I think in these first two games, if you have anybody in place of Patricio, the games change drastically. But I also think that if you have anybody along with Andrea Belotti up front, you also end up with, if you have Lukaku already at your disposal, say 2 weeks ago, which wouldn't have been possible because 2 weeks ago Chelsea were asking for 40 million bucks. You would most likely have gotten two positive results in these two first games. Should we go for the Gea for free? Please give me a reason as to why you would drop a 36-year-old Rui Patricio and get an equally old, well, almost as old David De Gea, especially after the last seasons at Manchester United, which I think are all there for us to see. It's not really encouraging. Like if you're gonna drop Patricio, at least bring in somebody that can give you the benefit of the doubt, the suspension of disbelief, like something. Because if you bring in a guy that is just as troubled physically and mentally right now, it's not good. It's not going to change. Let's hope Smalling hasn't dropped off a cliff and just a slow start. I think that's the case. Really, I don't believe that all of a sudden he's crap. Navas from PSG on loan. Yeah, but now with Lukaku, it's not gonna happen. These things are already like, this is, in my opinion, this is fantasy football, where if you're giving you know this Navas's salary right now, and you what are you gonna do with Rui Patricio all of a sudden? Find somebody who's gonna get him off your books? No way. Yeah, Rui is the guy. We gotta accept it. Exactly, guys. I really understand there is a lot of frustration, but it's accepted. And the sooner you accept things with Roma, the better it is. Rui Patricio, Miles VR are the guys, and then Boer is the backup. So why Rui the guy? Why not Zviar? No, but I agree that, like, there is no Rui Patricio is not giving you the guarantees, so it's only fair to Miles VR to give him a try. I'm just saying Rui is the guy for Mourinho, and we all know it. Mourinho, he is his soldier. He's one of those guys. He came in. He was the first signing that Roma did under Mourinho, because this is a guy that Mourinho knows and trusts, and sort of uh, continues to use as his guide. The problem is that right now it's not working out. I think it really Rui really took a sort of mental blow as well in that Atalanta game near the end of last season. That's when things started to go south with Rui. Um, but otherwise, I think also, but and you see, that's why I say Roma are unpredictable, because Rui as well in the final stages of the Europa League, he was fine. So, um, yeah. What else? Offload to Saudi. Yes, but they don't mind signing old players. But the reality is different, man. Like even somebody like Spinazzola hasn't received a single offer from Saudi. Like it's not like Roma are choosing to ignore things. Karsdorp, he had to be on his way out, and somebody else was supposed to come in. He's here because nobody made an offer for him. So I know we like to think that everybody wants our players. But if you're not happy with Rui Patricio right now, I don't think anybody else will be with somebody who's 36 years old. Karsdorp was linked to Juve, if I remember correctly. He was linked to Juve, but that was in January. Roma were trying to find Karsdorp a home either in France with Marseille, that Marseille were showing interest, or in the Premier League. But nothing came of it. So how does Malcolm go 60 for 60 and we can't even get 10 million for Spina? Yeah, that's a good question. I agree. I agree. It's a very weird transfer window. I wouldn't mind losing games if we were developing youth players. However, we keep selling our best young players who are getting older, high wage, injury prone ones. Crystal, I think I addressed this in the previous episode. I disagree with that thinking. I don't. First of all, I don't think we are signing injury prone players, with the exception of Renato Sanchez. That's really the only guy that you signed that has a clear injury record. Um, I also don't think that we are not developing youth players. We've developed plenty of youth players last season as well. The fact that you sold Volpato and Missori to Sassuolo is once again a decision that you had to take if you didn't want to get rid of other more prestigious and established names in the first team in order to generate revenue. It's not like Roma are having fun, and Roma did not want to sell Faticanti. It's something he asked for. Roma wanted to include Giacomo Faticanti, the Primavera captain from last season, midfielder. He wore the number 16 in the Primavera in honor of Daniele De Rossi. And Roma's plan was to incorporate him with the first team this season, like they did with Pagano and Pisilli. That was their idea, and bring him on preseason. But Faticanti showed up earlier in the summer and with his agent and said, "You have to find me a team where I'm guaranteed minutes." What are you gonna do? You can't, like I understand you want to develop players, you also need results. I think that's what I said on the last live stream. Roma are making a compromise of that. They're developing talent. I mean, you have Eduardo Bova and Zalewski playing there. That's not like we haven't, but it's just you have to. It's yeah, you have to generate revenue. So um, yeah, Malcolm was a top scorer in Russia and dominated. Saudi saw this and paid. Yeah, well, most likely. I mean, 60 million for a guy that had his last remarkable season. What was in 2017? Um, Unironically, Karsdorp might be the best right back. Thank God nobody wants him. I like Karsdorp, and I think again that this is a guy that really did well after returning from that terrible dispute with Mourinho. The fact that we even saw him again with this team, I think, shows that he grew mentally. I mean, this guy was not exactly the most mature player on the roster up until 2 or 3 years ago. Like when he went out on loan back to Feyenoord, and when then wasn't happy to be back at Roma. I do agree that he can be quality when he wants to be. He's also a hothead, so why not put Faktikanti on loan? Why permanent deal? I would I would love to know the answer, but all those things, yes. I mean, when you can, Roma will want always to generate revenue, especially with the younger players. If you think about because that goes onto the books, that already counts for next year. Like that's it works. For Roma always. Like the only guy from the young players that didn't go on a permanent deal is a Brima Darbo, who went to Austria on loan, because he just blew his knee and hasn't played in a year. That's the only reason why you didn't make a profit on Ebrima Darbo. He wasn't even in preseason. You mean Faticanti? Faticanti wasn't even preseason because he was involved with the youth team of Italy. Yeah, he was. I think he was in the World Cup with the under. Yeah, and he was good. He was good, but his intention, Faticanti's intention, was always to get basically starting minutes. You're not going to get starting minutes as an 18-year-old who hasn't played really a single game in the league. I think he played in the Europa League last season. um, you will not get starting minutes, with the likes of Cristante, Pellegrini, and Bove, Paredes, whoever. So yeah, we should have sold Riccardi when we had the chance. Yeah, remember, guys, Riccardi, the famous guy, the famous player that I think there was a whole manifestation, a whole movement that prevented his sale to, I think it was Juventus. And then the guy turned out to be a complete bust. And now he plays for Latina because he didn't even want to move from Rome. So yeah, Riccardi, hadn't heard him in a while. Yeah, that's I mean, that he was the man. He was the Primavera player. So um I just want to say one more about the game yesterday is that all things are not lost. I'm going to reiterate this on this podcast. And it's not sugarcoating. It's when you look at when you look at these two results, what is pretty clear, and I think we can all agree here, is it's not even a matter of game plan or tactics. It's a matter of individual mistakes that stem from misunderstandings, stem from players may not being perhaps physically at the top. But it's all mistakes. It's mistakes, and they're pretty evident. They're pretty glaring. So that's what I take solace in, and that's what I would take home with me if I was Mourinho and staff in last night's trip back to the capital. Is after a game like that, I would go home and think, okay, I'm doing a whole video review of every mistake, and it's very easy. You just turn on those games, and it's very easy. Those are easy mistakes to identify, and I think so. That's the positive. I'm trying to do the thing of looking for the positive. That's the positive right there. So he wasn't sold again with the Faticanti guys. What's up with this whole Faticanti thing? So, Faticanti, he wasn't sold for that much. Why not a buyback clause? This listen, these things. Why not a buyback clause? Because everybody wants to put a buyback clause. Everybody. So a buyback clause doesn't work for the team that you're selling the player to. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So Lecce accepted a 35 sell-on clause. That's a lot. That's a big percentage. So that's how it works. Let's see other questions, guys. What do we want to? Is there something else that we want to say? Because otherwise I'll move on just to mention these last news about Lukaku. Roma are very close to Lukaku, and yeah, and it's yeah, Roma are very close to Lukaku. It's the fee. The club have agreed to a fee with Chelsea. Roma will pay Chelsea around 5 million for Lukaku's loan. They're now finalizing the agreements with the agent, and that will so that Lukaku will earn less money. He will earn around 7.5 million, something like that, which is what he earned at Inter last season. And last news from Sky is that the Friedkins private private airplane landed in Luton Airport. So near London, and the clubs will continue to negotiate into the evening, and that's the plan. Is to I think the plan is to get this done within the next 24 hours. So yeah, with Lukaku, he will not have another preseason. I agree. Like that's but that's it's the gamble, guys. It's the gamble. It's part of the game. With when Roma are doing these deals for and we have to be happy. This is the Friedkins come in 2020. In 2021, they secure Jose Mourinho. 2022, Paulo Dybala, and now they're about to secure Romelu Lukaku. It cannot be taken for granted. It has to be appreciated. The thing, obviously, is that these are players that come in special circumstances, and it's with Lukaku, for example, you're getting a guy who hasn't trained with a team in over 3 months. So just like with Dybala, you took on a player who had been plagued with injuries up until that point. Yeah, exactly. Friedkin plane just landed near London. Yeah. El Shaarawy has to start against Milan. That's a good shout. I uh, I for sure want to see Houssem Aouar start with Milan. That I know that much. I know that because I really liked what he showed, and I think this guy needs minutes. This guy is hungry. This guy is hungry for minutes. So we want this. Who knows what shape Lukaku is in? Yeah, that's the gamble. That's the gamble. Do you think Lukaku will be the last deal? I think it will more than likely be the last deal, but I also think that if anything, Roma will have to watch out for some outgoing transfers. Again, I'm just going to mention Ola Solback, and in my opinion, is like the number one player on the team's transfer list in case a convincing offer comes in. And then who knows, if somebody leaves, maybe somebody else comes in. That's the thinking with Roma. What's the word with Dybala? The word with Dybala is that his status is questionable, but there is the staff are cautiously optimistic. Whatever that means with Dybala, you never know because he he didn't look too much in pain yesterday, but you never know with him. So I think the status will not be known until like like a few hours before the match. But I also think that that's even more of a reason to have Awar playing there. Um, why don't we play Jose's preferred 4-2-3-1 with Cristante and Perez as pivot? Because of that because of that damn defense. Yeah, because Mourinho has his preconceptions about this defense. So, would a management team of De Rossi with Totti as sporting director have a galvanizing effect on Roma, or would their inexperience be an immediate issue? I don't think you can ever put some. That's it. I mean, I appreciate the question, John, but I don't think that you can ever put two legendary figures of a club just based on their reputation in a technical position that requires, especially with Roma, who are a team that is notoriously under heavy restrictions and that needs to have professionals that may know every single deficiency and financial rule. You can't put two guys like that there, and that's to me it's just fantasy. I think somebody, I know it doesn't sound good, but whereas De Rossi is clearly trying to do something on the side, although he already knows, like after that experience at Spal, I'm pretty sure that De Rossi knows that being a coach is far from easy, even when you start almost at the bottom. Um, but De Rossi clearly is trying to do something, and he did his training. He tried to learn about. He did his courses at Coverciano and so on. He was with the Italian national team in Mancini's staff, but Totti hasn't worked at all on becoming any kind of technical advisor to a team. Totti's an agent. Totti has an agency. That's what he does right now, and I think that there is no plans for him to change that anytime soon. So Yeah, no, I thank you, John. I appreciate the question. So, um, uh, that's my word. Just because. Oh, okay. What was it? Oh, how do you reckon Sardar Azmoun will do? Um, Depends on his fitness. Depends on if he really is fit right now. But I think he can be a surprise. And again, it's one of those signings that you're not losing anything with him. You're signing him on a loan with option. If you don't like him, you're gonna leave him. What I like about some of these signings, when these signings happen, is when usually when there is the less reception they get, the better they do, right? And with Asmoon, he came in, and I mean, it just was a graveyard. 15 people at the Campino, that's nothing. So um I think there is not much of a risk involved. I think if he's fit, he can be a surprise. But because I doubt that those two 1.5 seasons at Bayer Leverkusen really reflect the kind of player he is. And who knows if he cannot slot into that Ola Solbakken role better than Ola Solbakken. So I would love to see the Rossi manage in the future. Okay, so I assume that by all the questions we are done with the with the Hellas Verona game, and I'm glad because that's in the past, or rather, that will also be part of the podcast that John and I will record soon. I would love to see the Rossi manage in the future. But who knows if he has it? Yes, that obviously it depends. I mean, if you look at that class of those players from 2006 World Cup, I mean, Cannavaro, Pirlo, Gattuso, De Rossi, uh, you know, not a great class in terms of coaching. So I think De Rossi will take his time to pick his next adventure after Spal, because even Spal was a big problem for him. Yeah, I like Mortotti funneling youth players to us. Yeah, how do you accommodate potentially three center forwards plus Tammy next year? I think honestly, Tammy will always be on his way out. Honestly, it's with Lukaku. If this happens to be a dry loan, you know that dry loan is just a player that comes in and is gone the next year, unless you want to keep him on favorable terms and you have enough money to open talks with Chelsea. But that's we're talking about something that is so far ahead in the future. With Tammy was supposed to leave this summer. Tammy and Roger Ibanez were supposed to be the club's main sales this summer. The last match of the season, Tammy goes out injured and is out until probably March or April next year. So I doubt we will even see Tammy this season, in whatever capacity. I'm pretty sure that Tammy will be on his way out in the summer of 2024. So um, yeah. Asmun and Lukaku are 1 year rentals. Tammy and Belotti next season if one's not sold. Yeah. It's really. I think Roma are trying to figure things out. I saw somebody before say, I think it was on Twitter, that Roma are improvising, not planning. And I agree, but I also don't agree with sort of the tone that it was used in, because it's not Roma's fault under in certain occasions, like for example in that instance with Tammy. You have to reinvent the whole thing. You have to reinvent your whole idea of where you want to invest, because who knows, mind you guys, who knows if Tommy doesn't go out injured, maybe you get your goalkeeper, like what I'm saying, like that that injury changed the entire complexity of the summer. In terms of what were the club's priorities, the striker was never going to be a priority this year, and when with Tommy out, it became so. Let's see, final questions, guys. I'm gonna close this soon. I want a back four, but we don't have we don't have the fullbacks to do it. Zalewski is better in the attack. I agree that Zalewski. I mean, it's a weird thing, because if you think about it, Zalewski was a great midfielder for the Primavera, sort of an attacking midfielder, and all of a sudden he gave a positive response on the left when Spinazzola was injured. He basically Mourinho invented Zalewski as a fullback. Matias Vigna was not good enough. Zalewski comes in, gives a positive response, but I do think that we are limiting him. He's not exactly the type of player that that should be playing where he's playing, and I think we are limiting him. It would be better for him and for the team if he were allowed to do more inside the pitch, and more so when you're even putting him on the wrong side of the pitch, then he's completely ineffective. So um, why didn't is Ibanez sale fuel our market? Well, I mean it. A lot of it goes down to you're still. I mean that goes still for financial fair play. That just goes into the books, and it's there. Um, it's also when you're doing these things so late, like Ibanez, there was not a single offer up until uh, what was it, 2.5 3 weeks ago, whereas that was supposed to be the main guy that attracts. He was linked with all kinds of clubs from the Premier League. You were supposed to even get much more money for him, but that's not, I guess that's not how it works with Roma. so it's a shame. I also don't, I mean, I wasn't very happy with Ibanez leaving. I understand that it's part of the process and that he was the likeliest name to leave, but it's not something I particularly enjoy. um yeah, the balance very low, obviously. It's all part of the Plus Valenza game, and if you want to know more about the Plus Valenza, you have to contact John. Zaleski should be our left winger. The guy's quality in attack. He looks always out of place as wing back. His work rate is what's keeping him alive in that position. Yeah, Zaleski in that position is compensating for a lot. He's not exactly a world class player there, and he has to compensate for a lot of his shortcomings for the fact that he's not a natural wing back. So he's constantly learning. You don't have the feeling that you're dealing with a player who's got it. And I also think that that is not exactly great for him, because in the national team with Poland, he also plays in the fullback position, but it's not working for him. So just to end it here, Roma Milan on Friday. Dybala questionable. Um, we have to get it right. We have to get it right, because at the end of the day, you're sitting with 1 point, and you're gonna face a team that is very informed, that just scored four goals on Torino, that have 6 points and are happy. Their whole attack is clicking. So that's exactly the opposite of what Roma are right now. Romelu Lukaku is very close. I think the next 24 hours are crucial. Who knows if maybe tomorrow evening we are not faced with some news of Lukaku potentially landing already in the capital. I think that would be important, and then it's important also to see in what shape he's in, and what he can do when he can be available for us. You have to take that into account, obviously. And with Roma as a whole team, this they have to figure things out. But as I said during this live stream, and we all agree, these are clear mistakes. They are stupid mistakes. They are big mistakes, but they are avoidable, and you can work on them. So that's I think that's our conclusion for today's show. I want to thank everybody for joining me. I really enjoyed reading these comments, interacting with you. I would also encourage everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel, so in the future when we're going live. I'll be doing more of these. I will also, yes, try to get John involved in these. We will discuss recording the podcast episodes on camera. That will also require some different software that we use for recording the podcast. So that's in the works. If you would like to support the show, you can always go on patreon.com/Roma Press. That is what keeps us going. Really, it's really encouraging sometimes to have you guys support the show, and then we can offer extra episodes, and you can take part in our crazy patron group chat. I just want to say one more time, thank you to everybody for taking the time to be with me today. And yeah, hopefully this team can get back on track. Watch out for the podcast episode that is going to come out within the next 24 to 48 hours. And I'll catch you later. So thank you again, Forza Roma, and see you next time. Thanks again, guys.